Well, good afternoon. I'm Chicken Johnny, and today I'm going to try to do a little video here on planting some Hubbard squash. It's kind of windy, but I hope you can hear me. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put down drip tape. So right here, I've got a roll of drip tape, and it runs down into that pipe down there, and comes down through that pipe down here, and it comes out right here. See, the pipe is right underneath there. Now I drop this down into the ground till it's at about this height, and that allows me to lay that drip tape below about 4 inches down into the ground, and it is below the area where I'm going to be using a hoe or any kind of implement that might tear that tape up. I can only use it 1 year, and at the end of the year I've got to pick it all up and dispose of it. So there are some drawbacks to it, but it's worth it. And the reason why it's worth it is because I can use far less water to water my field. So this small garden here, if I were to attempt to water this with overhead sprinklers, I would have to move that sprinkler about 9 times, 10 times during the course of a day to get the entire thing sprinkled. Now these are onions, or actually shallots, and garlic. Now that garlic, you can see it's a little yellow. It needs some water. We had a little bit of rain yesterday, but not enough to really take care of it. So by putting the drip tape into the ground, and you can see the drip tape right here, and it runs right into the ground between these 2 rows of garlic. And then over here, you can't see it yet because it hasn't come up, but I have sweet corn planted. 1 row here, got another row here, another row here, and another row right here. And if I were to try to plant sweet corn without having it on some kind of drip irrigation, I probably wouldn't get sweet corn. If we have any kind of a drought, I'm not going to get any sweet corn at all. But the onions, they also need water. And right now they're kind of desperate for water, so I want to get this all hooked up and get my water lines connected over on the other end, and hopefully between today and tomorrow I'll get that done. But today I'm simply going to plant some Hubbard squash, but I have to put a drip line down. If you look at this dirt, this is black gold. This is really, really good soil. But this field is so filled with rock, it is incredible. The other thing, we get a lot of shotgun shell casings. Apparently, been a lot of target shooting out here. So I'm going to get the tractor set up and pull it forward. I'm going to put a stake down in the ground. This is my anchor. I put this down in the ground, it holds the drip tape, and then I'll run the tractor right down that freshly tilled soil. So this is a stale seed bed, and it's been worked up for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then I went over it lightly today to give it a shallow till. It's ready to be planted into. This Hubbard squash is going to take about 120 days to grow, and it's going to give us a pretty good yield. So here's the seeds. It's Hubbard squash. These are from Livingston Seed Company. We picked these up at our local Tractor Supply. Actually not at Tractor Supply, we picked it up at Fleet and Farm. And you plant them 3/4 of an inch deep. They recommend about 4 feet between each plant 4 to 6 feet, and they say it'll take about 14 to 21, no, I'm sorry. They say it'll take between 95 and 110 days to mature. Now our weather's supposed to be kind of warm now, so I'm hoping that we'll have enough heat in the ground. The ground is actually fairly warm, and hopefully we'll be able to have Hubbard squash really soon. So let me get this set up. I'll get the tractor pulled forward, get a stake in the ground, get the drip tape out. I'll set the camera up so you can see how the drip tape goes through the soil. We'll be right back. So I've got this chunk of steel that I picked up. It was just laying in the field somewhere, and I figured out I could use that as a good anchor for the drip tape. So once I've got that in, make a knot. See, we push it down a little more. Now we're going to drop the machine down to the ground, and we're going to lay this drip tape. And that is how we lay the drip tape. Now I'll show you how I go about planting the Hubbard squash. So I'm going to open up my pack of seeds here, and I'm going to see how many I've got. Well, hopefully these all germinate. In that entire package of seeds, I got 5 seeds and I dropped one. Got 5 seeds. So I think what I'll do, if I planted them 4 feet apart, I would be planting 21 of them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant the 5, and then I've got some butternut squash. I'll plant those up here, and that'll make the difference. So I'll show you how I'm going to do this. I'm going to come in from the end here a little bit, and I'm going to plant one. Now, if you look at this squash seed, there's one side is rounded like that, and the other side seems to be pointed. And if you look at that a little bit, this is actually the hinged side. So you want this side sticking up, because what will happen is the radical is going to come out from here. It's then going to push this up, and that seed will open up like that, and this will be sitting actually on top of the cotyledon until the wind blows it off. So you want the pointed side up, the rounded side down. And if you look carefully here, this is a big enough seed you might be able to see it. No, you really can't see where the radical comes out. It's a little thicker, maybe right there. Anyway, we're going to push this down to the ground. Whoops. We're going to push this down into the ground. I'm not going to bury it. I'm going to pull from the sides around. Now, that puts that 3/4 of an inch under the ground, but there's plenty of space around it, 3/4 of an inch. That'll heat up a little bit faster, and that'll give me a little bit better germination. So what I'm going to do is I've got this bucket here. This is just a bucket that flowers came in, and we use them for a bunch of different things. There's my seed right there. I'm going to put the bucket upside down. I'm going to bury it in all the way around this way. Hopefully the wind won't cause that to blow away. I could put a brick on it, I suppose. And then I'm going to go up another, about 5 feet. Let's go. And I'm going to plant another seed in there. Again, pointy side down. And then I'm going to put another bucket on. Now, I learned this technique from my neighbor who has won several competitions for growing the largest pumpkins. And the idea is that the ground isn't really sufficiently warm enough, but if I put this bucket over the top, and the bucket sits on here for about a week, that should be long enough for that squash to germinate and come up. Now, these are 120-day squash. They say that they're, you're going to get fruit between 95 and 120 days. That's a pretty big range, and that's because weather has a lot to do with that. From today's about the 16th of May, I think, and from today, I don't have probably 120 days. We could get a frost in late September, so 120 days is pretty tight to get squash. I've got 120 days to get squash for me to eat, but I don't have 120 days to get squash to sell at the market. So that's why I only bought one package of Hubbard squash. Probably only plant these 5. I've got some butternut squash that I'm going to plant beyond this. And then of course we have acorn and spaghetti squash and some turban squash that's going to go in the other field. I'm also going to plant some pumpkins. Not sure, I haven't decided yet exactly where I'm going to plant my pumpkins, but I might open up some ground for that. I might plant my pumpkins right here in this swale over here. If it floods, I'll lose them, but I don't I don't think we're going to get a flood this year. You know, if we don't get it in the spring, we're not going to get it. So I think we're clear of that. All right, I'm going to keep planting these, and I'll show you what we've got when I got all the buckets in. Well, I ran the battery out on my camera a little bit earlier, so I had to stop and go inside and charge up the battery. But I did want to come back out and tell you we got everything planted, and wanted to show you these buckets. These are plastic buckets that my wife gets me from Walmart, but you can get them from any florist. They're the buckets that the flowers are shipped from Holland to the United States in. I get them for free, and I get a couple different sizes of them. So it's amazing what you can get if you just check around. Talk to your local florist, maybe somebody at the Walmart or at your grocery store. These buckets are absolutely free. I plant in them once in a while, but they're not really thick enough to plant in for long term, but they work out okay. I'm Chicken Johnny, Emitzer Shem. I'll see you again. Eat your vegetables. Take care of yourself. We'll see you later.